It was against our advice, but there was a headline that caught our attention on anti-war that I thought was interesting. And it says Netanyahu's goal of eliminating Hamas is unachievable. Does that mean they're coming home? We're coming home. We don't need to send these weapons, because it doesn't seem like the leadership with Israel and other places or Ukraine. They seem to demand what they want, and they're unhappy, and they let you know. And there seems to be so much arrogance in the system. But anyway, that was announced today. But I don't know. I don't think they have a hard time convincing us that it's unachievable. Mainly because. Have they spelled out exactly what we're supposed to achieve? What is the goal? When is it going to be over? When can we declare victory? It's these kind of things just seem to, the purpose seems to serve the interest of perpetual war. And then there's a lot of cost. It does run up the budget. And people express, even the military ought to be cut back. It's a major problem for us now. But that never happened. But it seems like the perpetual attitude of keeping these things going, it shouldn't surprise us, because all the way back, really to the 60s, even with Korea, it used to be that if we were at war meant victory, so ever since World War II was a victory. There's no doubt about that. But after that, the whole attitude changed because our goals have changed, and I think that's because we shifted to whatever we can do. We have the printing presses. We control, the reserve currency. We were going to maintain that and maintain our empire, and it has nothing to do, really, I don't believe it has anything to do with national security. That's the excuse, and that's how the people go along with it, and that's how they raise this money, and through the taxpayers. And the taxpayers have not yet connected this wild foreign policy that we have with the biggest gripe they have right now is they can't afford their groceries. And someday they have to realize there's a connection.
Yeah, well, the original article we saw was on antiwar.com, and they linked to an AP story about it. And I think it's fairly big news, because the IDF spokesman, go ahead and put on that first clip now. This is via U.S. News and World Report. The rifts seem to appear between Israel's political and military leadership over the conduct of the Gaza war. So there are splits and rifts constantly going right now in Israel. And this first one that was a big one yesterday, if we put that next one on, this is Anti-War wrote it up, but I'm taking this from the AP piece. The Israeli army's chief spokesman on Wednesday appeared to question the stated goal of destroying the Hamas military group in Gaza. In a rare public rift, I wouldn't say it's that rare, but Prime Minister Netanyahu has insisted Israel will pursue the fight against Hamas until its military and governing capabilities in the Palestinian territory are eliminated. But with the war now in its 9th month, frustration has been mounting with no clear end or post-war plan in sight. Now let's have a look at what he actually said. Go to the next clip here, because this is the spokesman of your own military saying this. Now the Prime Minister says, we will eliminate Hamas. The military spokesman says, this is Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the military spokesman, said the business of destroying Hamas, making Hamas disappear, is simply throwing sand in the eyes of the public. Hamas is an idea. Hamas is a party. It's rooted in the hearts of the people. Whoever thinks we can eliminate Hamas is wrong. And there is the spokesman of the military literally saying that his own prime minister is wrong, is lying. It's pretty interesting, but what he said about it being an idea kind of reminds us of the war on terror.
Right, and they blame it generally, and then they can blame anything and everything according to what their needs are, to stir up the problem. And also Hamas is closer to falling into the category of they're defending the homeland. They're defending the innocent people whose houses have been torn and burned down. And of course, the big thing that has changed the sentiment has been the recent treatment. In order, like the most recent one was freeing 4 prisoners and killing over 200 people. It's a bit. It doesn't even come close to being proportional, and that's what's and that is why there's not only splits there. I think this is a healthy split. In some way that at least the military is not just bowing to Netanyahu, but I still see comments which I think is a challenge, and that is that Netanyahu needs this war to stay in office. And I don't know. It seems like the reverse could be true. Eventually, the war might be something that's going to get him out of office, because maybe everybody over there is going to be sick and tired of the fighting. But they have to come around. What they can't do, and you can understand it, how many people in this country would want to throw in the towel, and say, even though we've had to do that too, say, we can't win. We can't beat the Vietnamese. They're too powerful. We got to get out of here. And people even today, are unhappy with those who, the Hawks, they'd still be there if we allowed them.
Well, it reminds me of what he said remember what you were saying during the war on terror. You can't declare war on an idea, and this is basically what he's saying. It makes sense. Hamas is an idea. You can't defeat an idea. You've got to look at, he didn't say this, but he's certainly implying you've got to look at some of the antecedents. You've got to look at some of the claims behind it. It's like when you said, well, they came over here because we were over there. We need some self-reflection, and that's, again, it seems like that's what he's saying,
Yeah, that is a search for truth, and sometimes the truth hurts. And of course, if it's handled superficially, then the truth becomes something they accuse you of being anti-patriot. You're unpatriotic to the country, and yet that is a challenge that we all have. That if the government is out of step, the two patriots will stand up and say, look, this is too much. We saw that transition in COVID, in the sense that people did wake up there and had the challenge, and they had to do it with suffering. And there's still some people, and not only did they still suffer, but there was tremendous amount of casualties in that war, the war against COVID. So it's something, and they're always playing games with the appearance of it, and that's why they need a media to pump up the people, because they're the ones who have to send the soldiers to die, and they're the ones who have to pay the bills. And I say this, they need it one step further. They say, we don't pay that much income tax, but once people wake up on all these wonderful things that people are getting that aren't so wonderful anymore, and it all translate into a difficulty in paying for your groceries, that's when there's going to be a greater awakening.
Making the connection is the challenge.
Right.
Well, the Israeli government is increasingly in disarray. And I'm just going to show one more clip, if you don't mind. This is from the anti-war piece, Dr. Paul.
Sure.
If you put that next one up. There are big problems in Israel, and it's because they've been at war for months and months now without any success. Go back one, please. This is from anti-war. This is not the only time Netanyahu's clashed with members of his military in recent days. On Sunday, the IDF announced a limited pause to operations in a select area of Rafah during daylight hours to allow more aid to reach the Palestinians. Netanyahu quickly denounced the move as unacceptable, so he literally had to denounce his own military's move. It seems like it's getting out of his hands. Other divisions have emerged within the Israeli government. Last week, former IDF General Benny Gantz withdrew from the war cabinet over Netanyahu's refusal to work out a hostage release agreement. Gantz's exit led Netanyahu to dissolve the war cabinet entirely. So war cabinet dissolved. To that I would add little progress in 9 months against military targets. Some say that the Hamas militants are still at 80 to 90% capacity. They haven't been killed. Now, they've done a heck of a job killing all those civilians, That's kind of easy. You just drop a bunch of bombs on their houses. But in terms of military targets, they haven't done that well. And the other thing that's not spoken of very much, Dr. Paul, but it's very, very much alive in Israel, is that the IDF is taking massive casualties. Dead and wounded are in the thousands. And that's causing a lot of concern in Israel, and not only obviously because of the deaths, but as we know, Dr. Paul, many of these soldiers being sent there are conscripts. They're kids, 18 years old, being forced to do their service in the IDF. And so if you're a parent and you've got a kid who's about ready to go off to college, well, I got to do my duty to the IDF, and he gets blown off in a landmine or something, you're going to have a lot of very angry parents on your hand. We didn't sign up for this. So that's causing a lot of tensions in Israel itself. And then you have world opinion, which is looking at 37,000 dead civilians in Gaza and saying this is terrible. This is a genocide, and we don't want any part of it. So they're increasingly isolated internationally. So they've got big problems on their hands.
The evidence there of both sides, the Israelis and the Palestinians, are losing troops, and that's a big issue.